Emma Teresa Cole entered the world on September 10, 1875, in Grove, California, to parents Thomas Jefferson Cole and Mary Ann Gardner. Around the age of 3, the family relocated to Oregon, where they resided for approximately 10 years before returning to Amador County in 1888. At the age of 16, around 1892 or 1893, Cole tied the knot for the first time, but the marriage ended in divorce in 1898. Shortly after, she wedded William Williams, a miner who unfortunately passed away from gastroenteritis in 1902. In a matter of months, she entered into her third marriage with Albert McVicker. Despite McVicker's affection for her, the feeling wasn't mutual, leading to their separation, although they never officially divorced. In August of 1905, she married Jean Ledoux without disclosing her existing marriage to McVicker, thus committing bigamy. On March 24, 1906, the lifeless body of Albert McVicker, Emma's third spouse, was discovered inside a steamer trunk, abandoned on the Stockton train depot platform. Ledoux had procured the trunk earlier from a store in Stockton, while she and Albert were lodging in town. Investigations revealed that she had administered morphine to poison Albert, subjected him to a physical assault, and then confined him within the trunk while still alive, ultimately leading to his demise. She arranged for someone to transport the trunk to the train depot with instructions to ship it to Jamestown, California. However, she neglected to attach the tag before departing on the train to San Francisco, leaving the trunk unattended on the platform throughout the day. The baggage master alerted authorities upon detecting a foul odor emanating from the trunk. Following a warrant, the trunk was opened, uncovering McVicker's body. Sheriff Sibley from Stockton, along with Constable John Willahan of Arlington, tracked down Ledoux, apprehending her at the Arlington Hotel in Arlington, California. When approached by the constable, Ledoux surrendered willingly, acknowledging the reason for her arrest. Ledoux was revealed to be a bigamist, simultaneously married to both McVicker and Jean Ledoux. She had wed McVicker merely 3 months after her second husband, William S. Williams, died under suspicious circumstances in Cochise County, Arizona, with nitric acid poisoning suspected. Benefiting from Williams' life insurance policy, she gained a substantial sum upon his demise. The trial of Emma Ledoux was momentarily delayed due to the 1906 San Francisco earthquake. Eventually convicted of first-degree murder, she became the first woman sentenced to death in California. Although her hanging was scheduled for October 19th at San Quentin Prison, a stay of execution was granted and she remained incarcerated until 1909. In 1910, a retrial was granted, and due to her deteriorating health, she opted to plead guilty to lesser charges. Sentenced to life imprisonment, she was transferred to San Quentin, where she served a decade before being paroled in 1920. However, her freedom was short-lived as she returned to the prison in 1931 due to parole violations and remained there until her passing on July 6, 1941. She was laid to rest in Union Cemetery in Bakersfield, California. Evelyn McLean entered the world in Beamsville, Ontario, born to Scottish immigrants Donald and Alexandra McLean. Within a year of her birth, the family relocated to 214 Roslyn Avenue in Hamilton, Ontario. Unfortunately, her father, Donald, struggled with alcohol abuse and was known for his aggressive behavior. Despite working as a streetcar conductor for the Hamilton Street Railway, Donald's life took a dark turn when it was discovered that he had embezzled $200,000 from his employer. When she was 24, McLean tied the knot with John Dick, a 39-year-old hailing from a Mennonite family that had fled the Russian Revolution to find refuge in Canada. Both John and Evelyn worked for the HSR. Tensions arose in the relationship when John, aware of Donald McLean's fraudulent activities, made threats to expose him. Meanwhile, Evelyn initiated a romantic involvement with Bill Bohozuk shortly after her marriage to John, leading to their separation within 3 months. Curiously, John Dick vanished from the scene just 3 months after their separation. Following John's disappearance, a group of 5 local children, Faith Reed, David Reed, Fred Weaver, Jim Weaver, and Bob Weaver, made a grim discovery on the Hamilton Mountain near Albion Falls, a human torso. The identifying features, including the condition of the victim's testicles, confirmed it to be John. Shockingly, John's head and limbs had been severed from his body, with subsequent evidence revealing their disposal in the furnace of Evelyn's residence at 32 Carrick Avenue. This revelation led to the charging of Evelyn, Donald McLean, and Bill Bohozuk with murder. Despite efforts by Dick to shift the blame to Bohozuk, the latter was ultimately cleared. In 1946, Dick and her father stood trial, attracting significant attention due to the disturbing nature of the crime. Revelations during the trial included Dick's possession of a black book documenting her numerous sexual encounters, estimated to be around 150, mostly with wealthier men than her husband. Despite the defense efforts led by J.J. Sullivan, Dick was convicted by the jury and sentenced to death by hanging. However, a successful appeal, championed by her new lawyer, J.J. Robinette, led to her eventual acquittal. Meanwhile, McLean was convicted of being an accessory after the fact and received a 4-year prison sentence. As part of the investigation, authorities discovered the partially mummified body of a male infant in Dick's attic, encased in cement within an old suitcase. Dick had given birth 3 times, but she concealed the identity of each child's father by inventing a man named Norman White. Her children were Peter David White, Heather Maria White, and a second daughter who was stillborn. The discovery of Peter David White's body in Dick's attic led to a second murder trial in 1947. Dick was convicted and sentenced to life in prison, but was paroled in 1958 after serving only 11 years at Kingston Prison for Women. After her release, she adopted a new identity, obtained a job, and vanished from the public eye. Her file was permanently sealed following her 1895 pardon. Joseph Albert Guay entered the world as the youngest among 5 siblings on September 22, 1917, in Charny, Quebec. Tragedy struck early as his father perished in a railroad accident when Joseph Albert was just 5 years old, prompting the family to relocate to a suburb of Quebec City. During World War II, Guay secured a draft deferment. In August of 1941, he tied the knot with Rita Morrill and settled in Quebec City. There, he split his time between his job at the Arsenal and his side hustle selling jewelry and watches. Through his endeavors, he forged a strong bond with General Roust, a skilled watchmaker, and his sister, Marguerite Petra. As the war drew to a close, Guay transitioned to selling jewelry full-time, offering a variety of items such as engagement rings, crucifixes, and timepieces. Additionally, he collaborated with Roust, who operated his own repair workshop, by bringing him damaged watches for restoration. Meanwhile, Petra managed a boarding house in St. Roch. She gained notoriety among her neighbors and later the media as Madame Raven due to her penchant for wearing black attire. In the summer of 1947, Guay initiated a relationship with 17-year-old waitress Marie-Ange Robitaille, who claimed to be 19. Despite Guay's marriage and fatherhood, he introduced himself to Robitaille's parents under the alias Roger Angers. Over the next year, Guay and Robitaille's communication intensified, with frequent phone calls and regular meetings. In November of 1948, Guay's wife discovered the affair and informed Robitaille's parents, leading to Robitaille being ousted from her home. Seeking refuge, Robitaille turned to Guay and his close friend Petra for assistance. Petra, known for her maternal care towards Guay, arranged for Robitaille to stay at her boarding house while Guay covered her expenses. Robitaille maintained a facade of residing in Montreal to avoid detection. However, by early 1949, she desired to end the relationship with Guay and return home. Guay intercepted her attempt to leave, coercing her to stay with threats and manipulation. In April of 1949, Guay approached a family friend, Lucien Carreau, offering $500 to kill his wife, Rita, through poisoned wine. Carreau declined, deeming Guay's proposal absurd. By June of 1949, Guay's wife had reached her breaking point and left with their daughter. At the same time, Robitaille severed ties with Guay, finding a new job and returning to her parents. In a desperate attempt to regain control, Guay confronted Robitaille in June, brandishing a gun and issuing ultimatums. However, their altercation attracted police attention, resulting in Guay's arrest and subsequent charge reduction. Despite the tumultuous nature of their relationship, Guay persuaded Robitaille to flee with him to Montreal under false pretenses. However, their relationship deteriorated once more, leading to Robitaille's departure by the end of July. Undeterred by setbacks, Guay became fixated on eliminating his wife to pursue a future with Robitaille. He conspired with Petra and Roost, concocting elaborate schemes involving dynamite and eventually settling on a plan involving an airplane explosion to secure insurance money. Guay decided to blow up an airplane while his wife was on board. To convince his wife to board the plane, he gave her 2 suitcases of jewelry, which he had in storage since early August. Guay then contracted a $10,000 life insurance policy on his wife on the day of the flight. Flight 108, a Douglas DC-3 aircraft, operated by Canadian Pacific Airlines, was en route from Montreal to Baie-Comeau with a scheduled stop in Quebec City. Guay's plan involved orchestrating an explosion that would plunge the aircraft into the St. Lawrence River, complicating forensic investigations due to the technological limitations of the time. However, a 5-minute delay during takeoff diverted the tragedy, causing the plane to crash near Cap Tormente. The crash claimed the lives of all 23 individuals on board, 4 crew members, and 19 passengers, including 4 children and Guay's wife. This bombing marked the second assault on civil aviation in North America, garnering extensive local and international media coverage. The majority of the victims were Canadian citizens, with only 3 exceptions: the President, President-designate, and Vice President of the Kennecott Copper Corporation. As the plane crash occurred on land rather than water, law enforcement gained greater access to evidence, leading them to conclude that the explosion was deliberate. A police officer, speaking anonymously to a reporter, disclosed that authorities were seeking a woman who had delivered an unusual package to the airport. The news report surfaced on September 15th, but Guay remained unaware until 4 days later when he approached Petra, acknowledging the severity of their situation. Despite the gravity of their predicament, Guay proposed a drastic solution. Petra should take her own life and leave a confession implicating herself as the sole perpetrator of the explosion. Petra, however, rejected the notion. Instead, she feigned illness, seeking refuge in a hospital and consuming sleeping pills to induce drowsiness. Upon her return home on September 23rd, Petra was interrogated by police. She admitted to delivering a package to the airport at Guay's request, but concealed her true involvement, claiming ignorance of its contents, believing it to be a statue. Albert Guay was apprehended 2 weeks after the crash and stood trial in February of 1950. During this period, an informant divulged that Guay had implicated Roost in constructing the bomb mechanism. Roost corroborated this account, asserting he believed the explosives were intended for blasting tree stumps. Throughout his trial, Guay displayed a disinterested demeanor and opted not to testify in his defense. The only instance of emotion arose when Robitaille testified, stating her diminished affection for him. On March 14, 1950, Guay was convicted of murder. Judge Albert Sevigny, visibly moved, presented a photograph of Rita's body as he delivered the sentence. Guay received a death sentence by hanging, with Sevigny remarking, "Your crime is infamous, it has no name." Declining to appeal his sentence, Guay offered cryptic reasons, suggesting a preference for death over life without Robitaille. He was executed on January 12, 1951, at the age of 33, his final words being, "At least I die famous." Subsequently, Roost was arrested for murder in June of 1950 and tried in November of that year. Petra was arrested separately on June 14, 1950, and her trial commenced on March 6, 1951. Both were condemned to death by hanging. Roost met his fate on July 25, 1952, being transported to the gallows in a wheelchair due to tuberculosis. Petra followed on January 9, 1953, becoming the 13th and final woman to be hanged in Canada. All 3 executions took place at Bordeaux Prison in Montreal. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button to join our community. We upload every Monday and Thursday at 4 p.m. For more content like this, be sure to check out our other videos on the channel. You can also follow us on our other social media platforms for uploads and updates. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.